Tyler said, so I'll have clients initially sign up for coaching. They're following macros, and a few months in or later down the road, they get tired of tracking. How do you approach that? We've done diet breaks, but I'll get clients now and again who want to live their life and not worry about tracking. We'll fully incorporate flexibility within the program, so it's not like they're super restricted, but they just don't want to think about food. How do you approach something like this so you don't lose the client?
Yeah, amazing question. And I remember when I was a younger coach, this really threw me for a loop for many reasons. But to be very blunt about it, I realized that the reason it threw me for a loop, there were a number of reasons it threw me for a loop, but the main one was because I didn't want to lose the client, which was selfish of me, right? It was like, it came from my own selfishness, not because I wanted to help the client. It came because, well, if you aren't tracking and you're not aware of your food, then you're probably going to end up gaining some body fat, and I'm probably not going to get a success story from you. And then if I don't get a success story from you, then I'm going to lose you as a client, and I'm not going to get more clients because I can't share the success story anymore. So like, if I'm being very honest, it came from, and it sounds like that might be where you are with this as well, being like, how am I not going to lose the client if that's the point? Sometimes lose it, and you don't have to lose the client, but sometimes a client shouldn't stay with you for very long. And sometimes it's okay for them to take breaks and they'll come back later. It's okay for them to have breaks. Like, I don't think any coach worth their salt would say that you need to be meticulously tracking all the time, all year, every year. I don't think any coach worth their salt would say that to anybody. So having these breaks is normal and fine and healthy. And sometimes letting them go will allow them to then come back later when it's time and when they're ready to do it, and also help them develop a healthier relationship with food. So with all that being said, I got to a point where I realized I need to stop trying to force people to be tracking all the time. I need to find things that will allow them to still stay on track and remain healthy and limit excessive body fat gain, or even continue to lose body fat without necessarily tracking, which is why I ended up coming up with my 3 plates, 2 snacks method. It's why I came up with my 1, 2, 3 method. You have 1 salad a day, two pieces of fruit, 3 bottles of water. Like, that's just the bare minimum of what must be included. You can also eat other things, but you must include those bare minimums. Just these simple things that allow them to make sure they're still getting high quality food, high quality nutrition. They're hitting the basic needs of what they need to hit without being as meticulous as tracking would have them be. And, ironically, when this happens, some of them might gain some body fat, some of them might lose some body fat, but if they need a break from tracking, it's your responsibility as a coach to give them that break in a controlled environment. And if that means that they leave, that's okay. They might come back. They might not, but that's the right thing to do as a coach.
Great answer. The 2 pieces of the question that stand out to me are the very end when he said, how do you approach something like this so you don't lose the client?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, it's just normal. Like, you're a business owner, a client is part of your revenue stream when you're just getting started. You don't have many clients. If you lose 1 client, like that's a big chunk of money annualized. And so you're thinking that you want to do whatever you can to not lose the client. But the long term, that probably is the best financial strategy in the short term, but it's not the best strategy in the long term. It's not the best strategy for the client, and it's not the best strategy for you and your business in the long term, because if you take a little bit more of a hard line, if you draw a line in the sand, and if you recommend, if and there are certain circumstances where I'll have a client not track, but when it's, I want to live my life, I'm done tracking. I'm frustrated that I'm not losing any weight. I want to lose 60 more pounds so I can be healthy, but I want to be able to live my life, and this is too restrictive. And so I want to keep making progress, but I don't want to track anything ever. That might be a time to very politely and cordially say it might be a time to take a break from coaching. Maybe they end up working with an intuitive eating coach. Maybe they gain 24 pounds in the next 6 months working with their intuitive eating coach, intuitively eating, and then maybe they come back then when they are ready and they've tasted the other side and they're like, oh, you know what, tracking actually does help me lose body fat. I know it's not a forever thing, but I know it's very beneficial during the fat loss phase, and so I am going to make the sacrifice for the next 8 to 12 months, get here, and then maybe I'll be tracking less when I'm in more maintenance mode. Incredible. I would also say that just in general, to answer your question, when a client does that, I'll usually push back a little bit. And again, I'm focusing on the just want to live my life. It's not like I'm developing binge eating tendencies or I am binge eating. It's not, and these are less common instances. But when there is some kind of disordered eating develops as a result of tracking, or like the client is having a really bad time with mental health, anxiety as a result of tracking, those are times when taking a break from tracking, taking a diet break, going to maintenance, trying one of Jordan's two methods that he just listed are a great idea. When it's simply that this is too hard and I don't really want to put the time in to do this, that's where I'm going to push back and say, okay, like we cannot track, but just so you know, you're probably not going to make fat loss progress during this time frame if you're okay with that. I would recommend and whatever push back to help them understand that it isn't necessarily easy, but this is a sacrifice worth making. This isn't going to last forever, but I'm pushing back and saying if we want to keep making fat loss progress, we're going to keep tracking.